Hey everybody, this is Carl back again for another movie spoiler review, and I'm covering Across the Spider-Verse. I'm going to try my best to cover as much ground as I possibly can because I only saw it that one time in the theaters. I freaking loved it. I'm not going to bury the lead here. It's like uh, Spider-Man No Way Home and the first Spider-Verse movie is the last two movies I actually got on DVD, and I want to get the others because it's going to be a three-parter. Now, a two-parter as you initially thought, because there's no typical end credits in this. It's just like a teaser title thing, and the sequel, which is coming out next March, is called Beyond the Spider-Verse. And honestly, I was like, dang, man. I was kind of half hoping that the there'll be some kind of tease, because this is the reason why a tease of the inheritors, because the main bad guy is the Spot, and it's a nice little play on his character, but we'll get into it in a minute. But this is the reason why, like, throughout earlier this year, that I went over almost every variation of Spider-Man in the Spider-Man comics that I could, leading up to this first Spider-Verse comic event, which you can see all on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. By the way, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I'm very close to my 400 subscriber goal, so I can do the Hot Ones challenge video for you guys, and I'm still receiving questions from you guys. So, like, please, if you don't do in this video on YouTube, you can just go to any video on YouTube or on my Twitter @talkativecarl, so you can leave a question if you want to for me to read during the Hot Ones challenge video. And also check out my Patreon and follow me on Twitch as I go live streaming Street Fighter 6. Anyway, yeah, and I did not cover Spider-Punk, even though I think he was like a big standout for a lot of people, because he has his air, because it's not the way I read him when I see Spider-Punk in anything, but he come across like John Constantine from DC Comics. It's like that air of, like, like, I don't know, it's like anti-establishment, straight out of like the 70s or 80s kind of punk rock era kind of situation. But before we get into it, oh, and also Spider-Man India, which I covered Spider-Man India comic up on the channel as well, which you can check out my thoughts on that. And that was very fun, and I kind of hope Marvel starts really pouring into, because there's only like a Spider-Man India miniseries. They haven't really explored any more beyond that, and I kind of like that art style, but they really need to have India writers and artists involved in something like Spider-Man India to make it very authentic. But anyway, we got Samik Moore returning as Miles Morales Spider-Man, Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman, or Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, Brian Tyree Henry as Jefferson Davis again, Luna Loren Velez as Rio Morales, the mom and the dad respectively. Jason Schwartzman comes in as Jonathan Owen, the Spot. If you watched my 90s Spider-Man TV show review, the Spot showed up in I think it was the 4th season. Not like a typical supervillain in that iteration, just doing what he had to do in order to complete his research kind of situation, but it's more like very courteous type of guy, not very like malicious. Issa Rae plays a different variation of Jessica Drew, because Jessica Drew in like the main 616 is a white woman. Here is like a black woman from a different universe, and she spent most of her time on a motorcycle to get around, because you shouldn't be pregnant. Even if you're a superhero, you shouldn't be pregnant doing all this kind of wild stuff. Karan Soni as Pivatia Prabhakar, Spider-Man India, which I thought was going to be Camille Nanjiani going to be voicing Pivatia Prabhakar, but instead they got the Deadpool cab driver. I just had this doggone name and I just lost it just that fast. The character, Bill Pender. Daniel Kaluuya as Kobe Brown Spider-Punk. Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099. Shay Wickham plays George Stacy, Gwen's father. Greta Lee plays the Miguel's AI Lila. Mahershala Ali returns as Aaron Davis. Andy Samberg plays Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider, and man, I love the art style. I love the art style and every doggone thing in this thing, but the art style, particularly for Scarlet Spider, it's like so 90s, and he gets so melodramatic. It's so freaking funny, and it's like the two people you really gotta pay attention to the dialogue is Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider and Spider-Punk. Amandla Steinberg as Margot Cass as Spider, aka Spider-Bite, Spider-Woman from a virtual reality. We got Kimiko Glenn as Penny Parker again. Taryn Kalim as Patrick O'Hara Webslinger, the Cowboy Spider-Man. You got Nick Novicki as Lego Spider-Man. There's a Lego Spider-Man here. Josh Keaton, the Spectacular Spider-Man TV show, which I did review up on my YouTube channel. Check that out too. Has a cameo in this. Yuri Lowenthal has a cameo, the Spider-Man from the PS4 video game. Mike Miranda, Ezekiel Sims, the Spider Therapist. You have a brief scene with that. Sophia Barclay, Malela Windsor, Spider UK. Danielle Perez, Charlotte Weber, Sun Spider. Max Bourne, Spider-Man 2211. Metro Boomin as his unique version of Spider-Man. Nicolas Cage and John Mulaney return in like an archival audio recordings as Spider-Ham and Spider-Man Noir. And man, there's like a lot of like, different things showing up from different eras of Spider-Man lore. Usually the non-vocal stuff, but we got Spider-Man Unlimited from the late 90s supposed kind of sequel to the 90s Spider-Man TV show. We got Spider-Man from the Mangaverse. We got Cyber Spider-Woman, Bombastic Bagman, Julia Carpenter and Spider-Woman, Samurai Spider-Man, Canadian Spider-Woman, Doppelganger, Flash Thompson, Captain Spider, Maybelle Riley, Lady Spider, another character from the Spider-Verse, Mary Jane Parker Spinneret, and her daughter Anna Mae Parker, Spiderling, from 2015 limited series Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows era. Spider-Side, Last Stand Peter Parker, Earth X Spider-Man, Spider Cop. Get it from the PS4, the little joke he constantly plays, Spider Cop. I'm the only one to clean up the city, Spider Cop. Spider Armor MK1, 2, and 3, Chibi Spider-Man, Tarantula of Earth 1610A, because 1610 is typically the Miles Morales universe. Prince of Arakeen, PTER, P Tarkar, Spider Rex, Spider Cat from the think from the game, Spider Monkey, Spider Wolf, and Peter Parked Car, Spider Mobile, Mayday Parker, the infant daughter for the Peter B. Parker, the one we followed from the first movie. Melissa Strawn voices his wife MJ, Mary Jane Parker. You got J.K. Simmons reprising his role as J. Jonah Jameson in various forms. Jack Quaid voices Peter Parker of Gwen's universe, who transforms into the Lizard. And also some Marvel Cinematic Universe live action. We got Donald Glover playing an alternate version of Aaron Davis, the Prowler, in his live, form, because you see like the HQ of Spider-Man 2099, where they got this Spider Society team, kind of like the TVA, but for Spider-Man related, particular events. And they captured people who break like the Time Variance Authority. Anybody who branches off their particular timeline, these Spider Society members try to come in and snatch them up to return them back to their particular timelines. So, because Donald Glover is supposed to be like a live action Prowler at some point for the MCU. And he also, at one point he's supposed to be voicing like Miles Morales for something, but that kind of fell through, I think. And I'm pretty sure this Donald Glover is from the MCU Homecoming point. We got Peggy Lou, the convenience store owner, Mrs. Chen from the Sony universe with Venom films, making a brief appearance. Tom McGuire and Andrew Garfield show up in like windows to alternate worlds. So yeah, it was really like, man, they went ham on this like the list of stuff. I think like my crowd lost their minds once they saw Mrs. Chen, because just to see like, especially the Lego universe, because you thought like, whoa, man, we're in the Lego universe, like holy crap. But no, this is like a Lego universe for the Marvel, not the WB. So that was wild. So I was like, oh my god, you're now making this like, okay, bring Venom, Tom Hardy into the MCU. Stop messing around with us, because I want to see these two in a role, like Tom Holland and Tom Hardy together. But just, I think people like lost it when they saw a live live version of Aaron Davis, Donald Glover, in like a Prowler costume, possibly after the events with like Infinity War and Endgame, he probably got some tech and decided to become like the Prowler. Possibly maybe after like, you know, when people disappear for 5 years, he decided to like up his game and, you know, to capitalize off of it or something, or realize maybe things are getting too big for just like normal stick ups like he usually was privy to in the first film. But anyway, hey Diggs, sorry, I was really getting all into the massive lineup that is this movie. And of course, yes, this is like a part one, so part two will be coming out in March. I think it's supposed to be 3-parters. And that's why, like, you know, I'm slightly bummed because I won't say slightly bummed. It's like there's no guarantee, but if you're doing like a Spider-Verse a movie, especially if you're increasing the number of variants of Spider-Man in these next 2 properties, or 3, whatever, it's, if you're going off of the like, well, not exactly one-to-one to the Spider-Verse event, but in that event, if you follow or watch my review on the Spider-Verse comic event on the channel, I thoroughly enjoy the Inheritors as part of, like, at least more specifically more Lun, but this whole family patriarchal type of Hell's Fire Club type of vampires out going to, because here's the thing, this Spider Society who acts like the TVA and trying to you know, prevent branches in the timeline could cause, like, maybe, because during this whole story, I imagine they could use it to like explain how like they open some kind of doorway to this other realm, this kind of walled off realm or something, where these inheritors lie, these energy sucking vampires who got sealed away, and then they're released and they out hunting every variant of Spider-Man and killing them and stealing their life energy. And they're like, if I mentioned many times before, the inheritors are like, you know, each one of them are kind of like Spider-Man's Doomsday. Like, you know, as Doomsday was to Superman, that's how they are to Spider-Man. Because it takes like maybe like 8 of them just to subdue one of them. That's how much of a threat they are. But anyway, the movie begins not with Miles Morales. It's actually starting with the world of Gwen Stacy, Earth 65, Spider-Gwen. And like every universe, as I mentioned, we only touch on that here and there in the first Spider-Verse movie, but we really get right into the meat of it in each universe and their different artistic style. And it took 5 years just to make this film, and they did their thing, man. You can feel the work involved in this, where like every art style that you can imagine, that's even like a doodle, they like incorporate that in, you know, to match whatever Spider-Man variant, to make it, and it make it blend so seamlessly. Because like Spider-Gwen's universe is pretty much like watercolor, you know, kind of style. And of course, she is, because she's still like dealing with, she haven't really had the time to actually deal with the event of killing her. You know, she didn't kill her, but it's just like her Peter Parker died when he tried to, if you watch my, because I covered this in my Spider-Gwen run that I did on the channel, her version of Peter Parker was the nerd, but she got bit by the spider in her universe. She became the superhero, not him. He knew she was, even though he never admitted it, but he knew that that Gwen was Spider Woman, but he wanted to be special like her and like help her out with saving the neighborhood and everything like that. So he took the lizard formula, turned himself into a lizard he couldn't control, and the ensuing fight caused he caused his own death that Gwen blamed herself for, and then Captain Stacy thinks Spider-Gwen killed Peter Parker. But after she ended up sucking into a different dimension, she had to deal with that and not dying in another universe, because if you go to another universe, theoretically, your atoms or your chemical makeup that's uniquely tied to a particular universe you're from. I'm not a scientist, but this is like I said, probably like a theory, because you see 3 live-action Spider-Man together, and 2 of which are not from that particular universe, haven't glitched at all. But it would make sense that your chemical makeup will probably be different from one universe to the next. Like this animated Justice League film, Crisis on 2 Earths, where the Justice League are fighting their evil counterparts from another Earth called the Crime Syndicate, and like evil and good are switched from what you typically know, and their version of Lex Luthor is good. He comes over into their universe to get help from them. Superman x-rays him and notices like his heart is like opposite from the position that there typically should be. So that's their kind of correlation of like, things are different in some capacity. So Gwen, there's like she can't tell her father that she's Spider-Gwen, and he's on his manhunt or woman hunt for Spider-Woman. There's a breaking at this art gallery, and she goes in to investigate and sees this version, like a different version of the Vulture. And this version of the Vulture is, done up, the art style is done up similar to like Leonardo da Vinci type of blueprint, this kind of gray parchment type of, not gray, but like brownish parchment type of art style that you see. Like you look up Leonardo da Vinci's kind of like blueprints of like a flying machine or anything like that, is in that kind of style, and he speaks in very old Renaissance era type of speak, and it's really good just to see these 2 type of art styles just clashing. And then thanks to the help of Spider-Man 2099 and Jessica Drew, they managed to stop Vulture and capture him. But after Captain Stacy finds out that Spider-Woman is his daughter, he still, unlike in the comics where he chose not to arrest her when she outed herself to him, he still went forward with like, you're still like, he's still going through the Miranda rights regardless. And so she decides to like leave with 2099. So then we move forward into and this is when like the credits really, like the opening credits really start. But we go into Miles Morales' world again, 1610, and it's like a year and some change after the first events. Miles is a little taller, he's getting a little bit more used to, but still kind of green behind the ears of being Spider-Man in this world. And still trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life, and his parents doesn't know his alternate like persona, and for all they know, he's like not telling them stuff like he used to, and he's clearly like lying about stuff, and keeping things from him. And there's this party where they're about to celebrate what's the doggone name again? Jefferson's about to be at least days away from being sworn in as the police captain. That plays a particular big part in the story. They're going to DuckTales into the Beyond the Spider-Verse. But they had this big argument in this party where it's like he wants to tell them he's Spider-Man, but he's afraid, if how they will react. And in the meantime, Gwen shows up after he gets grounded, and they starts hanging out. She meets his parents, and it's a nice little moment between Miles and his mom, because the previous film is all about like Miles' relationship with his dad. Here you get a little bit more agency, and it's not like you didn't have agency with the mom, but she didn't have that much screen time. This is a little bit more the relationship between her and Miles now. And the line, man, is really good, where she's like, because Miles stayed at this like parent-teacher kind of conference thing, where it's like a funny thing where it's like Miles, who's half black, half Puerto Rican, is having like a B in Spanish, and her mom just the mom going ballistic. Like, that'd be so weird. But well, it's because he like missed a couple of classes, and he's been missing a couple of classes in Spanish. But I guess he feels like, I know I speak it, so there's no point in me even like showing up all the time. Day is kind of wild. It's like, why would a Spanish speaking person who's not only fluent in Spanish but raised in a Spanish speaking household need to take Spanish class? It's like, do French people take French class? It's like, it's kind of like a waste, isn't it? But he ends up late because he having to just duke it out with this a seemingly corny spot who's trying to rob an ATM. And it's a nice little banter between him and Miles, because like Miles has a point, because like he brings up like, why do people call it ATM machines? The M is the machine, so you saying ATM machine. This is a good point. Nobody's ever really, kudos to the writers, and support the writers during the writer strike, people, because don't let ChatGPT, whatever AI take over, because that's gonna ruin TV and movies for the long haul. I really am against that. So support the writers during the writer strike, but kudos to the writers, because that really leads into another line from from Spider-Man India, who Miles get a taste of his own kind of medicine, where he tells Spider-Man India, oh man, I love chai tea. And Spider-Man India is like, why do people keep saying chai tea? Chai is tea, so you're saying TT? So it's like, you learn something, because yeah, you're right, chai is already tea, so why were you saying chai tea? It's TT, you're saying TT like an idiot. So it's like, oh my god, for all this time, people of Indian descent probably looking at us like who's saying chai tea like a couple of goofballs. I was like, oh my god, that's like, we've been like really like not paying attention in life. Let me turn this like ring light. So anyway, he seemingly captures the spot and tries to get Genki to like, hey, call the cops to get this guy up. And of course, it's like inverse to what we used to in the MCU with Genki, where it's like, I'm not your guy in the chair. I'm not gonna, it's like, I can't be doing all this, because if I do it once, you're gonna expect me to do it all the time. So it's like, he's not that enthusiastic, unlike live action Genki from MCU universe. So I thought that was pretty funny. Gwen and Miles hang out a little bit, and of course you see a mom getting a little protective of her son, but she expects him to stay in Brooklyn and go to school there so he can be close to home. But as Miles puts it, that he needs to be able to go out, because like, he'll be kind of walled off from outside experience if he doesn't go outside of Brooklyn to see the world, essentially, to broaden his horizons. You can't do that if you're locked in one particular neighborhood or borough. And there's a nice moment where, like, because Jefferson Davis is teaming up with begrudgingly with Spider-Man, not knowing it's his son, and he's kind of like trying to have this heart to heart. It's like, man, it's like, I don't know what was going on with my son. He's not telling me anything. And it's a nice little more. I forgot the word of advice exactly, but it's just like, basically, Spider-Man is telling Jefferson how to handle things with his son. It's like, maybe you should let him. He's still doing the stupid voice. Maybe you should let him spread his wings. It's not that too dissimilar to what, like, Tom Holland Spider-Man did with Aaron Davis in the first Homecoming film, where he's doing that auto tone of voice, trying to sound tougher to disguise his voice. It's not that too dissimilar. So Gwen's is about to leave. Thanks to some encouragement from the mom, he follows her. Then notices that she going to this crime scene where she's apparently is following the Spot, even though he's not from her universe, so there's no reason for her to be following him for some reason. But she's actually spying him for a particular reason, because doing the CSI little map detective vision thing, apparently Spot has upgrade some tech to increase his holes, which I'm glad somebody pointed out how dirty that sounds. But increases, he's trying to increase his power. He upped it to another point where he can actually, because he tested it a little bit, where he actually, like, dipped his head into, like, the Lego universe and the Venom film, and it's so funny how Mrs. Shannon just not fazed by the fact that she's looking at an animated man with a spot for her face, because he's seen worse. But anyway, so since he's breaching dimensions willy-nilly, is setting off, like, the signal flares for the Spider Society. So this is Gwen's mission, to track this guy down and bagging him and tagging him. But she exits through her webware portal wristwatch. He follows her, and he ends up in Spider-Man India's world, where Spot goes to, because he is going to that universe's version of the Spider Collider, which he was a part of in Miles' universe. That he was the one that got hit by that bagel in the first film, and he considered himself Miles' arch nemesis. It's like Miles don't know him like that, because this is a running along joke / good narrative where, like, they kind of joke like, oh, he's supposed to be some kind of villain of the week because he's not, like, on the same level as, like, Green Goblin or Doc Ock. This guy it should be treated like a joke, but he doesn't want to be. He doesn't consider himself a joke. And he's showing him how much of a threat he really can be, which, you know, that narrative could be applied to almost any kind of supposed C, D, B lister villain, and like it gives some proper writers behind it and people who probably give a damn. You could elevate somebody like maybe Condiment King to be an actual legit threat, and not like supposed to be like a jokey character. You can really kind of put something behind it. So he actually make this collider, and here he comes like Spider-Punk coming in to help out. And of course it's like this dude is like borderline arrogant, man. It's like, you know, I'm always cool. It's like, oh my god. It's like this guy. It's like all I get is like Constantine from this guy, and it's like every word out your mouth. It's like you're borderline on the line of me want to punch you in the face because you come across like such a like arrogant prick. And just like you're too cool for school attitude kind of stuff. Babies, the ultimate anarchist. I salute you. Like, shut up. Just shut up. Like everything out your mouth is annoying for some reason. But I also love it at the same time. I'm like, God dang it. The collider goes off, causes like a explosion, and Spider-Man India sees like the bridge going out. He's saving. They all like swinging into action, and they all saving a bunch of people, and try to like prevent like this collapse hitting anybody. And this is a cool like display of like all these different Spider-Man utilizing their unique skill set of using the Spider-Man ability to save a bunch of people and working in unison. And just they never worked together before. They don't know each other like that, but they working in tandem like they've been doing this for like years. Not to do too dissimilar to see like Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield working together in so seamless of a way, because they have the same ability, so they know how they should typically go off of. But Spider-Man India saves his version of Mary Jane. Forgot the India variation of the name. It escapes me right now, but he saves her. But he sees that her dad, who's the police captain in this universe, is about to save a kid from falling debris. This plays a significant role in the story. It's about like, and it's the things about how canon is supposed to play out. But Miles goes in, saves not only the kid but the captain as well. And here come like some Spider-Man tech guys come in and tries to like neutralize this, you know, black hole breach, while the rest of them head off to the HQ, where they meet up with Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Bite, and Peter B. Parker showing up again, and carrying his kid. And of course, you know, he says in dad mode, he wants to show off his newborn baby to everybody. It's very funny. Kudos to my fellow Chicagoan Jack Johnson, you know, always bringing it. And this, you know, of course, like you read like Spider-Man 2099 comics, Miguel O'Hara does come across, you know, kind of like if you watch Yu-Gi-Oh, the Seto Kaiba kind of attitude. Here is like they dialed it up a little bit further with that, where he's kind of like just all attitude, and Peter B. Parker jokes are like he's the only Spider-Man that doesn't have a sense of humor. That's weird. And he like is mad at Miles because he is causing a break in the canon, or a break in the timeline, because as he shows off the like this hologram of the because they make a joke because Miles calls it the Spider Verse. That's what we normally call it, but Miguel's like, that's stupid. We call it the arachnid. What's it? Whatever technobabble he said, but then he sits and thinks about it. It's like, okay, I think that's okay, so maybe that's stupid too. So that really made everybody laughing at their decks. It's like, yeah, that's pretty stupid too, because we all know it's called the Spider-Verse. I don't know why you try to overcomplicate it with tech speak. But he points out to Miles what he did broke just for lack of better words, broke the sacred kind of timeline in the Spider-Verse, because there are like a few key things that needs to happen with every Spider-Man variant, and he shows off all these different Spider-Man from the live action films and the animated films and the comics and the video games, that Uncle Ben, or at least a type of a Uncle Ben type, has to die, whether it's like Gwen Stacy's Peter Parker, or another universe, instead of Uncle Ben is Aunt May, or typically is Uncle Ben. But that is like the main thing that has to happen with every various of a Spider-Man. They have to lose somebody close to them in their early years of their origin story. It has to happen. Also, what has to happen is a death of a police captain, typically a George Stacy variant. And any breaking of that is a thing they have to correct. Because you learn the story of this version of Spider-Man 2099, who who is like watching all these timelines going on, and he sees a different variant of himself who isn't Spider-Man and has a daughter, but he ended up dying from trying to stop a mugger. The daughter didn't know because she's very young, so he wanted like a family. He wanted like a normal life, so he thought, like, what's the harm? He'll just go into that universe, live out that Miguel O'Hara's life. Although they never really explained how he isn't like glitching out, because they have these kind of like webwares, wristbands that help keep them stabilized no matter what universe they're in, so they don't glitch out of existence, or they have like a day pass. But in any rate, because of him staying in a universe he does not belong in, it causes a wipeout of that entire universe. So it doesn't exist no more because he wasn't supposed to be there. So now they turn him they harden his heart to the point where it's like, we gotta kind of like he remains in a way, or not even him, but like Renslayer in the Loki series, where he gotta have this timeline. It has to go a particular way. We cannot have any alterations, because that will devastate the multiverse. So he points out to Miles that the spider that bit him, because it has a 42 on the back of his thorax, and from the first movie, it says 42. It's from Universe 42. And female Doc Ock from 1610, Miles' universe, the Miles that we know, who Johnny Owen was working for, testing out the collider and trying to breach into other universes for the Kingpin. And that spider was taken from that particular universe and brought into their universe, and this caused devastating effects to that particular universe, as we see at the tail end of this film. But Miguel calls Miles an anomaly in of itself, because the spider that bit him wasn't supposed to bite him. he wasn't supposed to be a Spider-Man. He is now, but he wasn't supposed to be there. He's like a walking anomaly that should not exist. And it kind of plays to what, you know, his mother said about don't let anybody tell you you don't belong. And you hear Miguel tell something like, you don't belong here, kind of situation. Because this dude was kind of like an ass. There, you know, because all these different Spider-Man start slowly like surrounding him, and then Miles quickly picks up on, what is this, like an intervention? So they're keeping him here because while they tell him the story about not like breaking like the rules of a canon, a captain close to him, typically a George Stacy type, needs to die. And everybody seems to know but Miles that since his dad's gonna be captain, because after the explosion dealing with the Spot, he had this brief glimpse of what's going to happen in the future of the timeline, because since I guess they connected because they come from the same universe, he can tell like what Spot's going to do in the future, which he sees like, you know, his father's going to save a kid like the Indian captain saves that kid. Jefferson's going to save a kid from a collapsing building caused by the Spot, and it's supposed to kill Jefferson because of that while he's saving that kid. So they keep Miles here because they know that he's going to try to prevent that, and they cannot let him prevent that. It has to play out because now he's Spider-Man. It has to go the way it needs to go. So Miles is like, you know, thanks to Spider-Punk, breaks him out, and there's like a merry chase of a bunch of these Spider-Man and women try to stop Miles to prevent him from escaping, and he managed to get away thanks to Spider Bite. But because you think this little mechanical spider thing, it looks like a cross between like the Weaver from the Spider-Verse comic and like those mechanical things from the tentacle octopus things from the Matrix films, like a combination of both of those, you know, reads a particular character's DNA and sends them back to their respective universe. Because Miles's DNA incorporates the you know, got messed with by the Universe 42 Spider's Venom. It rewrote his DNA signature. So now it's reading Universe 42, so that's where the machine sends him, and not to 1610 where he belongs. So in that particular universe, since that spider was taken from that universe where it's supposed to bite somebody and make a Spider-Man, because it has to make a Spider-Man, whether it's a good Spider-Man or an evil Spider-Man or nonchalant, indifferent Spider-Man, doesn't matter. A Spider-Man has to exist. It has to go down, or a Spider-Woman has to exist in some capacity. And since it was taken away, anything that happened that Spider-Man or Spider-Woman need to prevent all goes to hell. Anything that Green Goblin will do, anything Doc Ock would do, anything that Spider-Man would typically will prevent because of his intervention, all goes to crap. So it's I won't say dystopian, but it's a very dark, you know, present day of Universe 42. So Miles ends up going there, finally got the courage to come out to his mom to admit that he's Spider-Man. Spider-Man doesn't exist in this universe. That's where he got clued in. It's like, I'm in the wrong universe. And this universe, Aaron Davis is alive, and his dad died. Probably because he wasn't saved by Spider-Man, because typically Aaron Davis in most stories gets saved by Spider-Man every time we are first introduced to this character. And since Spider-Man doesn't exist in the universe, anything that would have happened to Aaron Davis, Jefferson Davis, plays out and he dies. In this universe, we see a alternate Miles Morales who, since there's no Jefferson Davis to live out his life to make sure his kid is on the straight and narrow, Aaron gets more in his head than he probably typically would have been allowed to, which puts him on the path to being the Prowler himself and leading more into like the very thicker Spanish accent. And now, like the way he captured Peter B. Parker in the first movie, tie him to like a punching bag, this evil Miles Morales tying good Miles Morales to a punching bag, and now it's like, you know, left on a massive cliffhanger on that. Meanwhile, Gwen Stacy is, you know, sent back to her universe after delivering a great line telling, like, you know, we're supposed to be heroes. And of course you see like, oh, not a breakdown or meltdown, but like you see like how far Miguel has fallen to the point where you almost like he remains in a way, where it's like he's so obsessed at this point of maintaining the status quo in every universe to make it play out where it needs to play out in the canon of Spider-Man. I like the way they like really lean in and play on the canon aspect and how important it is in many storylines that like Batman's parents has to die, Superman has to escape from a doomed planet, Catwoman has to be a thief, Hal Jordan has to get the ring, Cyborg, Victor Stone has to become get in an accident to become Cyborg, Steve Rogers has to get frozen in the waters to be revived in the future. Those are canon stuff, that at least the core things. Everything else can deviate all they want, but there's core aspects with these characters that cannot be deviated from. They have to at least fall on the line in some capacity. They can like wiggle a bit here and there, but the core aspect has to be maintained in some fashion. I like the story, how they play on that. That's very creative. But Gwen decides, after she realized, Miles is in the wrong universe, and she promised his parents she will finally bring him back home. And so she gathered up the original team: Peter B. Parker, Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, and tagging along with Spider-Punk and Spider-Bite, helping out, trying to save Miles Morales. What else was I gonna say? Because that's where the movie ends on a to be continued. It was really good. What else I gotta say about this movie? Yeah, the art is phenomenal. Like everybody can agree that each frame could easily be a poster. I just wish I have some kind of like a photo album of every image of every frame of this entire film. It is phenomenal. It's really, really good. Because once I might go back into my I did like a YouTube tier list for all my favorite Spider-Man films, animated and live action movies. And after the Spider-Verse film stuff is over, because they make a live action Miles Morales movie too, but I figured after the animated films are wrapped up, I want to go back to my tier listing, and because honestly, I imagine I'm gonna put these two, because I already got the first Spider-Verse on my S tier because it's phenomenal. This movie's gonna be on S tier too. This is really good. This is probably a couple of notches even better than the first one, and that's a high bar because the last one was like an Academy Award winning, or Oscar Academy, I think it was Oscar, but very well done. What else I gotta say, man? Man, it's really good. One heck of a cliffhanger. Oh god, I'm trying to figure out anything I need to say before I log off, because there's so much to talk about this movie. The music is phenomenal. Once again, great music. unlike the game where like Miles Morales is more into music, I like him being more into art. And of course, that's just like the film variant, but I think he's more geared towards like artistic qualities, but he's gets more into science. Obviously, you got to get more into science, but I like him having like a knack for art. Uh, but yeah, of course, Gwen ends up reconciling with her dad after she gets put back in her universe, and they end up making up. And thanks to, since he's blocked from returning from the Spider Society, Spider-Punk stops by in her universe, hands off like a jerry-rigged webware to give to her, so that way she can be able to still go through other universes to help Miles. I really like that. And of course, oh yeah, Gwen's dad decides to quit the Force after the back and forth they had with, because it's been like months prior to this argument they had and the whole situation with trying to arrest her, and he quit the Force, thus preventing his possible death. So since and that's how they can probably figure out how to prevent Miles' dad from dying. And also I like Peter B. Parker having a talk with Miles, because when they played like the downtime scenes very well, everything's perfectly paced. Miles and Peter always had this kind of mentor mentee, almost father, like a secondary father figure type of vibe, where he's more like the chill dad, but still like a mentor. And he tells Miles that like, you're the reason she exists. You are important, and I hope that when she grows up, she be just like you, Miles. And I like that because like Peter B. Parker will always have like to think that 616 Peter Parker, but then they kind of mentioned that Tom Holland is supposed to be the 616, but there's like different levels to like similar number universes, and they can be marked on like 616A and 616B. And you can argue that maybe Peter B. Parker is 616B level for the animated variant. But anyway, I like that heart to heart because it's like he will always have his back. He will never turn against him, despite what like Miguel O'Hara will say. But here's the thing, I like to think maybe by the tail end or the end credits of Beyond the Spider-Verse, I hope they really kind of bring in the Inheritors, because they will make an excellent foil for all the Spider variants to team up and have their own end game moment to take out these this family, to like neutralize them and stomp them out from trying to kill all of them. But they can go their own way too, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say, or even that's I can think about for this movie at this point. But it's really good. Highly recommend you guys checking it out. I'm definitely gonna get this on DVD as well as the sequels, because I want like the hard copies of these Spider-Man films, because I love them. I love them so much, and you all know I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. So luckily I got all my comic book and TV show and movie reviews of Spider-Man all done and up on the channel. Not every Spider-Man comic, because a couple of stuff like Spider-Punk that I probably will do some point in the future. But yeah, like you can check out all my other various Spider-Man related content that I did on the channel and my thoughts on each like the TV shows, comics, and movies. And yeah, there'll be more Spider-Man movies that I'll be reviewing for the future, so look out for those. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you thought of Across the Spider-Verse, and which character was what's your favorite new character? Because I like Spider-Punk, and of course I love Miguel O'Hara too, even though he's an asshole. But I also like Ben Reilly. As short as a moment he has, I love him. But I also just love the favorite surprise cameo too, because I did not expect Mrs. Chen. Did not expect live action Aaron Davis. Did not expect Spectacular Spider-Man or the video game version. But it also been cool to see the other TV shows, Spider-Man, like the 90s one, the 70s one, uh, uh, those have been great too. Because he also shows Spider-Man Unlimited, so well, I guess you can count Spider-Man Unlimited as the 90s one too, because that's kind of like a direct sequel in a way. But yeah, it's really, really good. Or like MTV Spider-Man, you know, voiced by Neil Patrick Harris. That would have been great. All the voice actors, you know, because you got like Yuri Lowenthal and Josh Keaton. Might as well get Neil Patrick Harris as well, and the guy who voiced Spider-Man in the Spider-Man and Amazing Friends TV show. You know, get them for cameos. It's like, as much as I love Spider-Man No Way Home, they should have gotten like the voice actors in a full live action, you know, stuff, like having like, you know, Josh Keaton and Neil Patrick Harris as like B cops or in the No Way Home, just to show like, hey, this is like a huge love letter to Spider-Man in live action. But Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse is gonna be a love letter to Spider-Man in animated form. And I know a lot of, because some people kind of poo-pooed Spider-Man No Way Home because it feels like a nostalgia bait. I don't see that personally. I don't think many people see that. I think like they use the nostalgia stuff perfectly interwoven into the narrative. But yeah, man, this is, and I think like there's some people out there kind of wish that Batman get this kind of love too, because there's so many Batman fans like, oh my god, it's like, why can't we have like a Batman across the Batman verse or something like that? Well, most of your actors either are like old or dead, or like, you know, you gotta get them involved in a lot of money to do any kind of cameos or voice for to be Batman, because Adam West passed away. Val Kilmer is still sick, so you got like, you know, you still got a few of the voice actors. Oh, and of course, like Kevin Conroy, he's passed away too. So you don't even got the greatest Batman voice actor involved. So you got like Ben Affleck, Robert Pattinson, George Clooney, and a few of the living voice actors who did Batman in the other animated forms. You can probably get them together for something, but it'll feel kind of hollow if you don't got like, you know, Adam West and Kevin Conroy. Oh, and of course Michael Keaton too. We could have get involved, get him involved. He can be like the pseudo Kevin Conroy. But anyway, let me know in the comments below which were your favorite cameos in the film, and which was your favorite new Spider-Man character. Because like I said, I love Spider-Punk and Ben Reilly Spider-Man. Those are like my favorites. Excuse me. So anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit while I play some more Street Fighter 6. And I don't know if I have time to squeeze in for any Destiny 2 like I thought I would, but it's already coming a little late, and I spent a lot of time in the gym earlier this morning, and you know, and finishing up some more Chaotic Lore script for the next video next week, because this is gonna be a big one, and the one after that. So anyway, I will see you all soon. Follow me in the links in the description below, as well as my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please send a question or two that you want to ask or curious about for me to answer for my Hot Ones Challenge video that I'll be doing in the near future. So I want to stack all those up so I can do a video and answer your questions while I try out each of the hot sauces. So like, keep sending them in through any of the YouTube comment videos, or go to my Twitter and send me the questions there, so I can start gathering them up and be ready for those. Anyway, I'll see you all soon. Take care, and I don't see you later. Have a great night. Peace.